Although Dimas Garza was not a founding member of the group, he joined from 1961 through 1966. The tracks he recorded and the live performances with the Royal Jesters are some of the most memorable. Dimas was a talented performer known throughout town. Before his time with the Royal Jesters, he performed with the Five Voices, the Cool Dips, and a group called The Lyrics. His first recorded track, Oh Please Love Me, was released on Joe Anthony's Harlem record label in 1960. I Won't Love You Again was released in 1966 on Clown Records, a label that was then ran by the Jesters under support of local producer Abe Epstein. By this time, the Royal Jesters had been performing for almost a decade and had become more of a brand and a business. With a rotating cast of members, 2 subsidiary record labels, and an entertainment booking company above Patio Andaluz on San Antonio's west side. This track features painful lyrics and infectious melodies written by Dimas, whose soulful crooner sound truly stands out from the other vocalists of the Royal Jesters.
Yeah, definitely we know this song, yeah. For me, it's the whole rhythm section. Always, like Royal Jesters always had that on lock, drums, bass, guitar, especially keyboard.
Yeah, organ players just going like ham throughout the song, He's just shredding, and the drummer's always just like, it's got like a good tone.
Man, even from the beginning, that organ part almost sets the stage of like a dream starting, and then the band hits. I'm big on melodies being like candy, and that motif that is sang throughout the verses is super catchy and beautiful.
I really like the harmonies, the way they spread out and come back. And as a background singer, I kind of think more like as a horn. So when I hear the horns and the way the backgrounds are put together, I feel like they're talking to each other. So that's what I really like about that.
When I think of you, my heart remembers all the love we've ever had, all the love we've ever had.
It's a very moody song, They definitely were able to present that feeling of like heartbreak in
It's like
interesting
haunting.
way.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the way they kept everything so, I feel like open. Even the bass is kind of just holding it down, almost playing kind of like waltzy, I think, just because it's so, it's so spread out.
I can't believe that like a lot of these kids are in high school. That blows my mind, and really hearing it for the first time, I'm like, oh, this kind of reminds me of like Mama Cass. It almost has that like California Dreaming vibe, and then it goes right back to like soul, and it gives me almost like a Ray Charles kind of background vibe. And then it's its own thing at the same time, which is so impressive.
The Dreamliners were a local music group, known then by their maiden names, Claire Peralta, Sylvia Ana Wilburn, and Cecilia Silva. They formed a trio in 1961 while they were students at South San Antonio High School. The group began by performing covers of the McGuire Sisters at school dances and local events. Producer and real estate agent Abe Epstein was at one of these events and took notice of their talent. He asked them to stop by his West Side studio and bring original tracks to record. While in the studio, Ana remembered the very first song she ever wrote lyrics for, Just Me and You.
Yes, it was the very first song that I actually wrote. It wasn't just like singing, making up lyrics as I hear music playing in the background. I actually sat down and wrote it on a piece of paper. But I was, like I said, inexperienced, just a little girl. I put that aside. I'm glad I didn't throw it away, because then when Abe got us into the studio, he said, well, you all have to have original songs. We can't do copies. And so I thought, oh my goodness, we don't have any. So I thought, hey, wait a minute. I had one that I wrote a long time ago, but I was kind of embarrassed by it because I didn't think it was good enough. You know what I mean? I didn't think it measured up to anyone else's.
The song was recorded in 1963, but the lyrics were actually written much earlier in her life.
I wrote this song when I was 12. I used to stay home a lot because I was sick, very ill with bronchial asthma, bronchial pneumonia. And so I would stay home, get my lessons at home, and Mother would watch Hollywood Theater. It would come on at 3 every day. And I was enthralled with all those old movies, black and white movies, especially with Lana Turner. They had great music for her movies. And it was so melancholy mostly. I used to compose songs or lyrics as the music was playing. So then I started thinking, well, why can't I write a song? So I just thought of a scenario, a scene, and I pictured a girl sitting on a bench in a park, reminiscing about her life, and I thought, hey, when I think of you, my heart remembers. So I sang that song, but if you notice, nothing really rhymes. Listen to it objectively, you can see how even though they don't rhyme, the words don't rhyme, they just flow from one scene to another, you see? And before I knew it, I had a whole song.
I ultimately believe music is medicine, and musicians and writers and singers are like the potters of emotions. You put together a sad pot, and then everybody who's listening attaches themselves to that feeling, and it helps them get through it. There's a pendulum of emotions we're supposed to feel as humans, and sadness and heartbreak and longing are, fortunately or unfortunately, one of those feelings. So this song instantly, I couldn't help but think of some heartbreaks that I've had, and it kind of like helps cleanse you of your sadness because other people are feeling it too. It's part of human life.
It's one of the most compelling parts of music, emotions that you have a difficult time describing or conveying to other people. When you write a song about that emotion, you don't have to explain it. It's on full display to be heard and felt by the person hearing it.
This one I feel like is a lot more laid back, and same thing I feel like with Royal Jesters, the rhythm section is always just super up front, bass is doing his thing, and drums and horns are nice and loud.
One thing I've noticed, in my opinion, based off what I listened to, the Chicano culture kind of holds on to that crooner sound a little longer than I'd say. It's my opinion. I think like Black Soul kind of, once they were done with it and kind of moved on to a different way of using the voice. And it seems like there's that crooner thing, like, that Nat King Cole was doing, or Sammy Davis Jr., or Bing Crosby, that long vowels, open vowels, which is cool to hear, especially against the rhythm section.
I really like the chord structure a lot. That's like usually what I pay attention to the most, I feel like. Where everything sits on the recording is really nice. Guitar's not too loud, drums aren't too loud. The horns definitely pop out. It's nice.
In the early 1960s, Henry Peña was a radio host in San Antonio on KUKA, where he co-hosted a radio show called Top Teen Tunes. His partner behind the board was Jesse Vallado of Little Junior Jesse and the Teardrops. One day while Henry was on the air, he heard an unforgettable track titled Only One. The song was originally released as Holy One by Freddie Fender, then later published under his other moniker Scotty Wayne as Only One.
When we said his name and then we heard his voice, it just didn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? It's just, those two clashed.
The song had a certain flavor that he connected to. The sound, the lyrics. It was a new way for him to express himself as a performing artist.
We would play music that the two top 40 stations wouldn't play. We would play the music that was local, and without even us understanding what we were playing, we just felt it. It was an emotional thing. It was a sentimental thing. So when you heard a song that was kind of like Freddie's and that kind of thing, Doug Sam and those guys right there, Royal Jester, Sonny Ozuna, Dimas Garza, they had a certain flavor, and at that time we didn't call it the West Side Sound. We just knew it was ours. It was something that belonged to our culture, And I liked that song. It was simple, and it was kind of a cool song, and I told the band I wanted to rehearse it. Let's rehearse this thing, and it was a kind of like a race. I mean, it was a race to stay on top of things, It was cool in those days to be able to say, here's our latest recording. I mean, God, who did that? You know what I'm saying? If you had a local band.
The track from Henry Peña and the Casuals has a different sound from Freddie Fender's version. Accompanied by horns of local musicians, Henry's version moves with the kind of soulful swagger found in the music of the West Side Sound. Henry attributes this to the crew in the studio, including Abe Epstein.
In those days, you know, it was an honor to be able to get on vinyl, you know what I'm saying? And every musician wanted to be a part of that. We didn't want to leave anybody out, you know? So when we rehearsed it, we used the entire band. Everybody pitches in to give it a bigger and fuller sound.
The horns, they're not there the whole time. When they come in, it really adds an energy. It's kind of like, I don't know, peppering or seasoning a plate of food, you know? Without them, it's just a little more bland, you know? Crucial.
Like San Antonio soul always has like a certain sound. It's like a roomy sort of production, like, you know, the instruments are breathing, there's not so much like compression.
It's kind of just like this embrace, and it just kind of carries you with like the vocal melody and the band together. It just feels like it's like holding you, swaying you, and like you can't help but smile listening to it. So.